Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tanguy Jacopin. We are on K2Born, and we are in the series concerning sustainability and corporate social responsibility. The topic of the day deals with the alignment or misalignment of the business model of the company with its CSR department. As we are going to see, starting issue, one of the major report concerning corporate social responsibility, as for name response, was published in 2007, and of 2007 principle of 2008. And what happened is that it says that there's a lack of result concerning CSR, and mainly on stakeholder management, because it's done mainly on an external focus instead of an internal focus. Therefore, they should focus on different issues, and one of the major issues from a strategic point of view, if you want to embed CSR within the company, is to look what's up between the business model and CSR department. Okay, so here this one is a bit, it's an issue that is a bit more theoretical. So this is the reason why it's based on hypothesis. And basically, what are the options? Well, it says that if there's an alignment between the business model and the CSR department, it should be easier to deepen CSR. Now, what we're going to see is that the hypotheses are built in a contradictory way, which is quite interesting. Because hypothesis 2 is that corporate social responsibility should obey to long-term consideration. And this means that if the company is led in a short-term way, it will be difficult to keep the original focus of CSR. This is the reason why we're going to see that it's complex. To enable this complexity to surge, we are going to say in the hypothesis 3 that there's a different way to lead a company. And you can lead a company on a short-term or long-term perspective. Okay, so within this different perspective, we can see that there are even more framework, and I'm going to come back to this just to show you how rich the framework is. In that sense, in order to proceed, we're going to use a methodology that is based on the cognitive processes of CEOs that was developed by Kimio Kase in 2004, and we're going to, I decided to adapt the Kase model to corporate social responsibility. We cross the model and we try to figure out what's up. So here, just to explain first, Kase model before moving to the CSR model. We go from reality, thought reality, and decision. What does it mean? It means that you don't necessarily need to apply through, let's say, deductive decision to reach to the right point. Sometimes induction can be richer to understand what's up. Okay, so if we look at it, and this is quite important, we're going to see that basically you've got two models. One is the PIF, so it's proto image of the firm. It's image driven, so much more long-term focus. Without cash, impossible to go through it. And let's say when we're talking about this company, we can mention, well, maybe Apple could be a good example. When Jobs was the CEO, important to insist on this, because as it just say long-term to develop product, want it to be disruptive, not such a care about customer issue. Customer doesn't know what he wants. This is one of the mantra of Steve Jobs. And by opposition, you will have the PA model would be profit and operation driven, much more short-term based, permanent crisis management solution. And here, if we're still talking about Apple, we can say that if you look with Cook, they are amazingly good at profit. You say, well, that's such a good management, but shareholder is really happy because, as you know, profit last year were around 41 billion USD. So Apple didn't manage to have such result for a while. Now the image has moved down, but this is logical because this is a different focus that they have. Okay, so just to let you understand it. And afterwards, if we are talking about CSR model, well, that I developed, basically same issue about image. Profit arithmetic is based on operation, time of work, same issue. Now, when it's interesting is when we move to considering factors and following issues. If it's image, external stakeholder will get the priority. And basically lots of communication issues. When it's about profit, it means lots of internal issues. Because it's about external, well, it would be qualitative data that will be important about, hey, look, we're here, this is what we're doing, we are staying in the long term. But by opposition, if you want to be recognized internally, it means you need to go through quantitative issues. And as other companies, when we're talking about corporations that go on the stock, basically it's about being able to provide some metrics. So metrics focus. So but the point is, if you go so much through metrics, don't you lose, let's say, vision of corporate social responsibility that the company should have. So here you will see that at once, and this is the reason why the question is important. In this first issue, it's about maximizing value creation, so it's quite optimistic perspective. Having obviously some milestone, so it's not 100% qualitative, but it will happen, and then you will quantify it, but it's not a problem on the short run. Meanwhile, on the other issues, it's about minimizing reputational risk and having some metrics that can say, hey, this is what we're doing. Okay, so here it's pretty implicit, much more freedom to let the manager do what he or she wants. Meanwhile, here it's really top down and lack of possibility. So here, this is what we get at the end. You can see that on this side you've got the business model approach, the CSR model, and what we're going to see is that we've got different cases of alignment. Here you got 1, 2, 7, 8, and 7 cases of misalignment, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to detail all of them, and as that we're going to see if you follow it. And what is quite interesting is that through this template you can make many mistakes, and this is the reason why I recommend you to deepen your analysis, to detail it much more. This is 1. 2, this is a static view. As soon as you decide to posit a company, for instance, in case 1, it can go to stage 2, to 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what we're going to explain in the following slide. Here, so what are the different cases? I'm going to detail all of them, and I will try to provide an example for each of them. So, case 1. As you can see, it seems that it's just an alignment, but it's not fully the case. Because what are we talking about? At this stage, we're talking exclusively about corporation. Okay, so companies that go to the stock exchange. Well, here it's interesting. You will have a company that says, well, we're involved in a tobacco company, for instance. No real CS corporate responsibility approach. What they're doing, it's they don't really have a structured department in that sense. So it's an alignment by default. There's no long-term perspective, so no. Alignment by default. And when you contrast this data with the annual reports, there's no doubt that this happened in many cases. Second point, effective alignment based on processes. It means that you've got a company that says, hey, on the long term, this is what we need to reach, but because we are listed on the stock exchange, we need to provide some metrics. So it's not an issue about providing 100 metrics, a few metrics, and basically you provide the goal to detail them in order to reach and to maintain the corporate responsibility vision, and like that you've got a great alignment. This is in 90% of the cases what could be obtained at best. when we're talking about the companies. Nevertheless, you've got only still really few companies that are in this case, in this box. Okay, so we go now in a business model where you've got a business model that is oriented on short-term rentability and quarter, and on the other hand, this corporate social responsibility is based on image. So here you will see that you may have some processes, but it's not truly there's no engagement, there's no compromise with it. It's much more as soon as you've got the crisis, for instance. These are the companies where it's difficult to say, well, we are going to keep up our investment. No, they won't. They won't keep it. They will stop. They will cut it. Same as they do with advertising in time of crisis. So this is the reason why one of my colleagues at ESA, former colleague at ESA, Argandonia, said, well, this crisis is a fantastic opportunity because it just led us to get rid of all the bad sheep. Okay, so this is the reason why it's commented. Now, you can say that here it can be a good transitory approach, and then you can say I move down to 2, or I move up to 4 or even 5. Okay, so then if we go on the box 4, what we can say is that business based on process, they are moving already because it's really difficult to move from 3 to 2 directly. Most of the time you can go 3, 4, 2. And here you're trying to deepen your compromise with CSR. You create some metrics, and you try to figure out where should you go over time. Okay, so this is one typical issue. Many former polluters in terms of CSRs that got already involved into it follow this stage. Okay, here's the point: is will they stay in 4, or are they going to truly compromise? Because as C.B. Bhattacharya showed it in one of his fantastic paper, just shows that you put the ranking of the polluter at the end of the 90s, and even at the end of the 2000s, and basically you can see that they are the top in CSR right now. Why? Because they face so many issues. They structure their environmental or their social department, and like that, they've already have a reflection about it. This is the reason why they are quite good at this. And last but not least, at least in terms of box with a focus on the efficiency, that you will have some companies, but really few, that say, no, we assume the contradiction between a short-term orientation of the whole company and a department where the vision is important and where the vision is not dedicated to short term. Okay, so really important to consider this element, because as you will see, it will enable companies to keep, I insist on this, to keep the original value of corporate social responsibility, because there's a huge risk for all these companies that are trying to migrate to the box number 2, that they lose the soul. And as you know it in music, when you lose the soul, you're dead. Okay, so really important. Here in box 6, well, I mentioned it, but it doesn't happen. Where basically you got a companies that say we focus on image, but corporate social responsibility is done is based on metrics. No, it doesn't work. So this one, it's always empty. If you arrive at this conclusion, there's a problem. It will mean that almost necessarily the business model won't be based on image in the long term. It will have a really, let's say, be our backup, but the organization will be organized through a profit arithmetic model. 7, saying, hey, we've got to focus on the long term. You've got many utilities, maybe social entrepreneurship projects that are focused here, and say, we want to go here. Once you focus on renewable, say, let's go there. And 8 is when you manage the alignment. So as you can see, real situation where you've got an alignment is in the boxes 8 and 2. It's difficult to be here, and even here. We are talking about less than 5% of the world company. Here you got 0%. So you got 95% of the companies that are here. Unfortunately, many of them are here or here. And with an effective alignment based on process, you got less than, and I will be extremely nice, you got less than 5% at the worldwide level. So where I insist, it's an effective alignment based on processes that do not denature the original vision of the CSR department. Really important.